I'd like to call to order tonight's Charter Township of Oxford Planning Commission regular meeting, Thursday, February 22nd, 2024. We could all stand and pay our respects to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Could we note the roll?
Noted, there is a quorum. Mr. Berger and Mr. Vlosik are absent.
Yes. All right, moving on to number 4, approval of tonight's agenda.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve tonight's agenda dated February 22nd, 2024.
I'll support.
I have a motion, I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Number 5, conflicts of interest, ex parte contact. Anybody have any concerns or things they need to?
Not this week.
Okay. All right, moving on to number 6, approval of the minutes. Planning Commission regular meeting, 1/25/2024.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes for the Planning Commission's regular meeting dated 1/25/2024.
I'll second.
I have a motion, I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Number 7, public comment on items not scheduled for public hearing or on this agenda. Seeing none, we can move on to number 8, commissioners' comments. Anybody have anything they would like to share this evening?
Not tonight for me.
I'm good, thank you.
Just a reminder that Tuesday is election day. Now, if you want to vote early, if you haven't got an absentee ballot, you can still get one from the township and turn it in up to the election day. Or you can go to Orion Township and actually vote in early voting at this point.
What's the location in Orion? Was it at the township hall?
At the
2323 Joslyn Road.
Thank you very much. Anything else for tonight? Seeing none, I'll move on to number 9, public hearing. We have none for this evening. Number 10, unfinished business, master plan update. So I will turn it over to you.
Good evening, Commissioners. Mateo Pasalacqua, Carlisle Warman Associates, the Township Planning Consultant. So we've got a lot on the agenda for this evening to kind of solicit the feedback, both as it relates to some items in the master plan, and then kind of a dry run of the upcoming community event. So I'm going to start off with some of the 3 topics, the memos that we had provided you guys as it relates to the future land use map, design guidelines, and transportation. Kind of the way that I'd like to go through these is, the memo was presented in a format to kind of prime you on the questions and the feedback that we were going to be looking for. So I'm going to kind of start off with just a bird's eye view of, each topic and kind of what was outlined in the memo, and then go left to right, get answers with yes or no, maybe a sentence worth of context. And then once we've got that feedback, which is, exactly what we need, if you have further discussions or questions as it relates to that topic, we can kind of go through that before we move on to the next one. So unless there's any questions out the gate, I can kind of get started.
And you said we're not going to need to be anything displayed tonight.
No, the memos are in your packets, and that's what I'll be referring to, and then obviously we have the boards in the back for the dry run.
Okay.
So, all right, well then why don't we take a look at future land use. So I think everybody's well aware that future land use is a very important part of a master plan. We use it a lot on a day-to-day basis at the township office, and it's a very helpful both visual aid, but then also kind of it provides direction for where the community kind of wants to go over the next 10 years. So what we wanted to do with the Planning Commission was kind of get your thoughts on the format of the future land use map and kind of the way that it's set up. And by in doing that, we provided you with some examples of different future land use maps that kind of range in what they offer and the way that they're structured, as well as your own current future land use map as kind of a reference point. And so those future land use maps kind of start off with kind of broad designations, large geographies. Some of them have sub areas, some of them don't. Some of them use units by lot, or units per acre to kind of designate density as opposed to lot size. And again, they kind of range from broad and, I don't want to say general, but broad and kind of wide sweeping to very prescriptive, which is what I would say you have now. Your future land use map has 21 designations. It is per parcel to the lot line. This is this, and there's nothing wrong with any of that. We just wanted to provide some examples to kind of get your feedback on whether or not, or kind of what you think the best format is for the future land use map in the update, which is, of the 3 examples of the future land use maps that we presented, which format do you think would best serve Oxford Master Township Plan moving forward? Mr. Ballard?
I like the existing one that we have, as from the examples that we have and some of the ones that I see. I do like that one the best because it really kind of outlines what specific areas we do have rural, which ones we do have in each individual spot. So that would be mine.
Great. Mr. Nold?
I'd like to keep the Oxford Township map that we have using the 21 designations.
Mr. Spiz?
I have a hybrid answer.
We'll
I
see.
like the way the Ypsilanti one looked, personally. I think it would look somewhat more professional than ours does. I like, from our aspect, I like the one we have today because of the detail. I don't know if somehow we can mix the two.
What about the Ypsilanti one do you like? Like, what specifically do you like about it?
That would be straightforward, it's just presentation of it.
The verbiage, like to the left, or
Just the way, the appearance and the verbiage and just the way it's.
Just has a flow and kind of an easier to understand
Yeah.
presentation. Gotcha. Mr. Bailey?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I hadn't really looked at the Ypsilanti one that close, but I do think it is a little more professional looking. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay. And Mr. Turner?
I could go with the Ypsilanti one as well, in looking at that compared to ours. The areas seem to be in bigger blocks, bigger grouping, and not quite the very detail level.
Okay. So kind of more towards the Ypsilanti broad system.
Right.
Was there any thoughts to, again, I believe it was the Garfield Township uses the units per acre measurement as opposed to a lot size. Are there any thoughts on the way in which you guys might want to start setting up those designations? You know, we don't have to go too deep into those weeds.
Right.
Just kind of soliciting a little bit of thoughts on that.
I thought the Garfield one was kind of chopped and cut up, which ours is too. I mean, you have a lot of mixtures where the Ypsilanti seem to be, you know, this area is this, then we move into this, then into this, where we're kind of all over the place, and so is Garfield, it looks like.
So you got a transitional flow.
Right.
Gotcha. Any other comments or questions as it relates to future land use?
I guess to answer your question from my perspective, I prefer the way we have it today by lot size
By
versus
lot size.
units per acre.
Gotcha.
It's my preference.
Sure.
I think with the new era that we're getting into, with the building and the desire to build in this community, we need to have detail. We need to go down to the lot size, and we need to be very specific in our future land use map to make sure that it correlates with all the other things within the master plan.
Great.
the reason why I specifically said ours as well, and how it because it's very it gets straight to the point, and you really can look at those areas because we do have large areas of areas for redevelopment, and you can really see how the detail of those, but clearly and quickly. I understand like the Ypsilanti, how it looks good, but there's a lot of verbiage, and you have to read a substantial amount to get to the point of what you're looking for. That's the reason why I like the simplicity of the Oxford one, how it gets to the detail of, hey, these are 10-acre lots, these are 10-acre plots, these are 2.5-acre plots, things of that nature.
So
That's the reason why.
My apologies.
No, go ahead, that's all I have.
So I think the consensus is straight and to the point is kind of what you guys are looking for with the detail of the master. That maybe there's a way in which there's more of a transitional flow from one designation to the next, but that specifics and detail is kind of the format that you'd like to retain.
But the title of this is future land use. And as we get, for the next 10 years, from what you just said, as we get into looking at what we have today, unfortunately it was driven by 216 master plan. The plan we have today needs to really reflect on what we have opportunities for in the future years, the next 10 years. For example, if you go up into the upper right-hand quadrant of the map, which we like to call horse country, there's future development that could happen up there, but it's on a limited basis, whether it's a recreation zoned property or whether it's agriculture zone property. But the divisions of some of those pieces of property are limited at 20 acres. And if you have 47 acres, you can only get 2 parcels out of that. We need to be aware of that as we go into the next 10 years of what could happen out there. As well as the other areas on the other side of 24, as we look towards the north, we have that carved out a little bit differently. But we need to make sure that we capture those areas and capture the true sense of where we can be in the next 10 years.
No, I appreciate that, and I think, I mean, this is future land, this is not the last time you'll see future land use. The big thing tonight was just kind of getting a feel for the format and the structure, designations, all that fun stuff's on its way. Okay, if there's any other questions, we'll move on to design guidelines. So again, similar setup, we wanted to prime you guys with the questions that we were looking for feedback on. I'm sure you're familiar with design guidelines. You know, they can be a very useful tool from the perspective of if there's certain areas within a community where you want to apply certain standards, aesthetic standards or public space standards, things of that nature. Design guidelines can be very useful for that. They can be set up as a single district in a single area, multiple districts in separate areas, multiple districts that adjoin each other or abut each other, that kind of developing that transition, either, you know, like the cascading requirements as they come out. The element with design guidelines is it's not walking a fine line, but you are trying to find a good compromise between what is realistic and what is determinable. You know, the memo had kind of outlined if you're too prescriptive, you can really stymie development because there's such a hard requirement to follow. But if you're too general, decisions start getting subjective, and that's not good either. So kind of with that perspective, you know, the questions that we put forward were, do you think the township should have design guidelines? And if so, where? Mr. Ballard?
Skip me for a second. Why?
Oh, you're fine. Mr. Knoll?
I'd say yes, and we follow the approach that we used on Dixie Highway. We don't have the map up front. Dixie Highway is help me here, Independence Township.
Independence, yeah.
They have 1, 2, 3, 4 design areas that they've segregated out. We've done the very same thing when we looked at our sign ordinance. We've gone through and we said on 24, this is what we want to see, this is what we want to see. Most of our activity, in my opinion, is going to be in the 24 corridor. It's going to be not too far off. It's going to be off of it, but not a great deal. So I think we need to look at that and branch out left to east and west from the 24 corridor with those design guidelines.
But to start, you're thinking multiple adjoining districts along 24.
I would think if the board wanted to go that way, that would be what I would look at. The village, Justin, Commissioner Justin, you can help me.
Mm-hmm.
We at the village, when we sit and talk about the planning commission, even down to the signs, we try to keep things that are closest to the center of the village as much alike in designs, whether it's a sign, storefront, awnings, window treatments and things. So we try to take those into account for the planning commission. As we get farther out, naturally, over time, things are not that tight, but as we stay closer to the center of the village, we try to maintain that. The same thing with the township, and we saw that when we did our sign drive. We did a wonderful sign drive, and Commissioner Turner was on board with that, and Megan was with us from your organization.
Yeah.
And we noticed that different quadrants had different types of signs, whether it was the timing of the business going in or the building going in, but there was the post sign, the monument sign. As we get closer out to Myers, we have the same type of signs except for one of the businesses out there.
Sure.
So I think the design standards would help us, because we're always looking to see what things look like. When we see PUDs, most of the time they come in with design standards of the homes or the condominiums that they're putting in, and the, lost my train of thought.
I mean, I think we're good. I got my
Okay.
feedback, but we'll circle back. Mr.
Yes.
Mr. Spiz?
I am a yes, and I would like to see it from the downtown outward. It'd be more restrictive the closer you are to downtown and less as you go farther out on M24. But I'm also for residential and industrial, we should have some very basic, not overly, say very limited restrictions.
Sure.
Certain things, because industrial, you could get a whole bunch of crazy stuff.
Sure.
So you want to have some type of appearance.
Okay.
I wouldn't go over the top because I don't want to get in the position that you mentioned earlier, of over restricting.
Sure. Mr. Bailey?
I'm a yes, and same thing. I like to keep things, looking a little more uniform or blending.
Perfect.
I like the idea of as you get closer to town, but yeah, I'm a yes.
Mr. Turner?
I'm a yes as well, but I think they need to be at a fairly high level.
As far as the level of detail or the quality of materials, I mean,
Right.
okay.
So that there is some flexibility depending on the needs of whomever's doing the building or whatever.
Okay. So, back to Mr. Bailey. You've had your time.
No, this is something I thought. The reason why I said come back to me because I'm still kind of on the fence related to this. Even this is like a game time decision for me, even for this about guidelines. What kind of guidelines? How in depth do we get in guidelines? How do we even structure those guidelines? That's what I was having difficulties with here related to this. And should we be putting I believe that the downtown is really important to have pretty good guidelines. But as you move out from those areas, as of right now, I would say no. Businesses will do their very best to try to. I'll probably think of other areas as we kind of move along, maybe
Sure.
where we should have other different guidelines. But as of right now, no.
And that's fine. Again, this is another, we'll be talking about it again topic.
Okay.
But I think the consensus is yes, with kind of this, burgeoning out from downtown with kind of, restrictions or not restrictions, guidelines becoming more and more general as we get kind of further out. Okay.
More limited.
Can you help me out here with that too? Can you give me an example of another area where they do have guidelines other examples of how we could put guidelines in?
Well, I mean, I think that so there are some, I'll get you.
No, I'm gonna try to answer that.
Well, I mean, there's some, so they can kind of come in different themes. I mean, like I said, some of the examples in the memo were, generally defining the character of an area, or are you looking to highlight, different type of multimodal transportation, those are things of that nature. But they can also be building orientation, building materials, types or styles of design. If you want something to try to complement a more unique downtown, although in my, I think, professional opinion, the more you try to make something look like it was there 100 years ago, the more it doesn't look like it was there 100 years ago, and those can start to stymie some development. But again, that's not for me, that's for you guys to decide what you're looking for, but there's a wide swath of design guidelines that you can apply.
Because I've been in areas where there is guidelines, and it comes down to that is you're in a very specific area because everything looks the same.
Sure.
I understand. I'm just really trying to see how that would here in our.
And it doesn't, yeah, and it doesn't mean forcing a downtown feel, like, it's not, it can apply to anything, really. So it's not just trying to like, hey, how do we make ourselves look like downtown Oxford on the peripheries and out, it could be anything.
Okay.
Did you have a comment, Mr. Spiz, or did you wanna speak to that?
No, I was just gonna say, I mean, think of the industrial, which we're gonna have the least restrictions, but do you want precast concrete walls all the way around, or do you want some kind of decorative finish on some of them, no matter what it is? Because you can get some pretty basic looking buildings in industrial, which some people might be okay with, but.
And if we go up 24 to the north, we have some
Yeah.
areas that are set up that way that look very nice.
And again, this is our toe in the water, like, you'll have more time to think about and apply and so on and so forth.
And it helps me to hear some of the, experience from some of the, some of our other commissioners to hear, just to hear what they have to say as well, but,
Yeah.
okay.
And when I say yes, I'm not looking, because I've been in some of those communities where you can tell they have very strict guidelines.
Yes.
So they're telling, McDonald's or Taco Bell, you have to, if you want to have a facility, you have to design it this way,
Yes.
even though their standard is X and Y. I'm not looking to go that far.
Any other questions, comments, design guidelines? Okay. All right, last but not least, as it kind of relates to the topics we want to go over is transportation. So, I mean, we've been working together now for a couple of months, and there are some common themes of, different items that the master plan needs to look at and address, and transportation's come up pretty consistently, I think more or less as it relates to traffic. As the memo kind of highlighted, a lot of your transportation and traffic is designed by, or is kind of, it revolves around M24, and the different ways in which that road can, turns into a 4-lane highway, goes through downtown, it's a divided highway, all the north-south traffic. You do have some east-west connectors, but they are yet to be maybe fully developed as full-blown rights of relieving traffic. So as related to that, we try to kind of outline some of the causes we think that are aiding in those transportation and traffic issues, but then also some strategies of how those might be addressed. As it relates to all that, the questions that we wanted to get feedback on were, do you think the current state and capacity of township roads is sufficient to accommodate natural or desired growth? And what modes of transportation or strategy should be researched to address future needs? Mr. Ballard?
Okay, so.
You want me to go right to left? You want me to give you a break?
It makes no difference.
Okay, all right.
Because I'll listen to everybody and probably have more comments on this one here as well, because is the current transportation sufficient, right?
Correct.
No. I drive.
It was township roads sufficient. It didn't say transportation. Your question was more specific to roads.
Yeah, so is your road, is the current capacity of your township roads?
Second one had to do with transportation.
Well, okay. So verbiage. Excuse me, my verbiage is incorrect.
Just let me know what's on your mind.
So no, I don't, because once again, we have one main artery. That's it. It is 24 heading south, and it is only getting worse, and it's only going to get worse. And if some of that, if some of the things that are planned in communities and the substantial amount of available potential developments that could go in, it's going to get, once again, even more backed up. And we have no expressways to the north of us or to the south of us to get out anywhere. So I say there's definitely not. I don't know how to fix what we have, east and west, because we then get into the problem of, what do we have? Do we have Baldwin? Baldwin's is a very similar, but even smaller. Joslin, same thing. We have a problem there. So I don't know how to solve that. I don't know what we could do to solve that, other than some choices with our density in our properties that we for future planning, if that makes sense.
As it relates to less density equals less traffic?
Less density equals less traffic, correct?
Okay.
Because you have less in your community.
Mr. Knoll?
We have what we have. I don't have a yes or no. We have what we have.
Oh, you're dodging me, John. You got
Well, in the midst of your, I can't find it now, but you had you had a sentence in there that said reclamation of some of our mining areas when they put in their subdivisions or whatever they want to do with it. We asked them to put connecting roads. So I think there's avenues that we need to step forward with, like you said, toe in the water. We need to step forward with in some of these new developments to encourage them to work with the developers to put in roads and things that will suit us in the township. There's not an answer for our problem. The density issue, I don't necessarily agree with no density on 24, no homes equal no density. I was in a meeting last week in regards to that, and there are some developments that are high density that have been developed for a group of people 55 and older, for example, that don't put the amount of traffic on the roads during prime time. And the developers have worked very hard with putting businesses within that area, either on their property or around that property, to help mitigate and to help traffic on the roads, and also to help the folks within that development. So I think on the newer developments that we're working on, we need to work with the developer and foster those types of things.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Spitz?
Answer to the first one, are they sufficient? No. I think we need to do a much better job of planning for the future, both north and south and east and west. There are some gravel roads today that we should really consider pushing or talking to the road commission to have paved. I know some of the residents might not be happy with that, but from a traffic mitigation on 24, I think it's a must in some areas. And then take more advantage of Baldwin, because I think Baldwin up to Clarkston right now, before they put the roundabout in, which is coming, needs to be looked at and planned with the road commission. I mean, because then it turns to dirt right at Oakwood, and maybe go all the way up to Davison Lake, maybe. And then east and west, there's a whole bunch of thoroughfares we need to improve, in my opinion. As to transportation, and I think I read in here, but the regional transit did happen, but Oakland County did pass a regional millage tax for transportation, and they are funding that. And this township is paying a lot of money, these taxpayers, for that. So we need to be in communication with both the road commission and NODA, because that is the agency that's supporting this area today, and they're being pushed to expand. How can they help improve the transportation? And if necessary, if we can get a smart bus up here, if it makes sense. If it makes sense. But those two entities should be at the table, including the road commission, because
Yeah.
it was kind of ironic. I had a meeting with them yesterday on something else, and they talked about something similar to this, because they're not always brought into some of these topics, and a lot of the townships aren't necessarily discussing these master plans with them, so that they can start planning. Funding is always gonna be an issue, always, but if we can at least put some type of good strategic plan together with the road commission, with the transportation agencies like NODA and SMART, I think it would help mitigate our current issues, especially with growth. I think everybody knows most of the developments now are going on East Drainer.
Sure.
I mean, that's gonna be a hot spot here very, very quickly, I'd say the next 2 years.
Yeah.
The township needs to figure out what the hell we're gonna do right there. Plus that intersection is not very safe, a lot of accidents at that intersection. So,
All right.
that's my 2 cents.
No, thank you. Mr. Bailey?
I would agree that we're not where we need to be. I also am one, if we continue to grow and we continue to increase the traffic, it seems like a lot of our residential is congregated at 24, where you also have all your truckers, gravel trucks, things like that are also coming through, and people trying to shop in town, having that big bit of business there and that much traffic, to me is a little dangerous. With as many people as we want to bring in, have we ever looked at the opportunity to bypass 24 around town like Lake Orion has, where the downtown is not right on that main artery? The other thing, have we looked at pushing more residential and some of the communities, like another Waterstone, maybe out closer to Baldwin, so those people aren't coming to 24 and then down, but going down to Baldwin or Joslin and Orion Road, things like that. Everything seems to be congregated at 24, and if we can disperse some of that, I think would be beneficial.
Okay. Mr. Turner?
Well, certainly 24 is not acceptable the way it is today. And I've spent a little more time on this, and I agree with Mr. Sis. You start looking at the area, Baldwin is a prime north-south road. Now today, it starts at Walden and goes south at 4 lanes with a lot of roundabouts.
Right.
And if you're traveling south, instead of going down 24, that's a great way to go down and get to the expressway. We know there's plans to come up to Clarkston Road next year with a roundabout. That gets you almost to Oxford Township. And not only Oxford Township, but there's the road commission. Brandon Township is on the other side of Baldwin. Talk to them, get them involved too, because they, I'm sure, have some traffic issues. But I would take Baldwin all the way up to Oakwood. You could do some widening on Oakwood, and a lot of these trucks could use that route to get to the industrial complex that's at 24 and Oakwood, basically, and get them out of the downtown area. Now, from an east-west standpoint, you've got Drainer Road, you've got the road right out here in Oakwood that would make ideal east-west roads. And then if you get to the other side of 24, yeah, there's some things that talked about extending a couple of roads. That would certainly help people move around, because you're gonna have a very high density on Drainer on the east side of 24. And if you've ever been at that intersection of Drainer and 24 at anywhere from 7 to 9 o'clock in the morning, it is a racetrack.
Sure.
I happen to meet once a month or once a week with some guys at the Country Coney. And when you leave there at 9 o'clock in the morning, your only option is to go south, even if you want to go north,
Sure.
so you can get out and turn around. I'm surprised we don't have more accidents there.
All right.
Now, granted, this all takes money, takes cooperation. You know, you might even have some state highway department stuff here where you've got to get people involved. But certainly the road commission, and I would think the bordering townships would be supportive of having roads
Sure.
improved for their use as well.
Yeah. Well, and as I had said, like, we're towing the water at this point with these
Yeah,
things. Like,
Understand?
we'll add some meat to the language, but, you know, as it relates to the organizations that should be involved, things of that
Yeah.
nature. Mr. Spitz?
Yeah, I just have one more comment for the record, which I think I've said before, but I want to make sure it's on the record. When we originally approved the development of the apartments and the condos right next to the high school, the plan was for Market Street to go all the way through.
Right.
I'm kicking myself now because we didn't push the developer to develop phase 5, which is the part that the school just bought, because that's where the road was supposed to go through. And they decided to split that off and sell it. So now it becomes maybe a little bit more difficult to put that road through. But to me, with high school traffic and everything else, having that thoroughfare through there would help drastically in the whole area. So we should somehow find a way to push that,
Okay.
You know,
or at least put it on our future.
what was done during the road construction, reconstruction, seemed to help some. And that was going out Drainer to Industrial Drive, all the way up to North Oxford, and then back in Railroad.
Okay.
That's a way around the downtown area, but I think there's more problems than just the downtown area to
Sure.
be dealt with.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments about transportation? All right. Well, I think the last thing on my docket was vision goals. So at the last one, we did the exercise with the vision goals and objectives, and we provided you with the edits as we recorded them from the poster boards. If you saw anything with those edits that were an error or still need clarification, let us know. But otherwise, we just wanted to provide them so you guys can take a look at them. Like I said, if we got something wrong or we interpreted something the wrong way, it's, you know, a lot of handwriting. Is that an I or an L kind of stuff? But if we got anything wrong or something needs to be adjusted, let us know.
Okay, so I was wondering, we're just supposed to review that. make
Yeah.
sure the comments that we put were correct.
Yes, yes. So unless there's any immediate conversation about that, I can turn it over to Megan. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, planning
Thank you, Ed.
commissioners.
Are we going to revisit these goals and objectives at another point in time? Or are we going to take what's on here? Because there's a couple edits in here I can get with you afterwards. But my question is, and my concern is that this appears to be gleaned right out of the 216 master plan. And one of the reasons the board wanted the extensive master plan redo was to make sure that we had a different master plan than what we had in 219, excuse me. So my question is that if we're gleaning out of the 219 master plan and bringing it forward with all the edits, are we gonna get what are we gonna end up at the end of the day with?
At your March workshop, so a month from now, what we were planning to do is to bring you some significantly rewritten set of those based on what your edits were and based on what we heard from public comment.
Okay.
The survey just closed last week, so we're working on getting those edits in and getting that report together, and then we'll have this open house on March 10th. And so I think based on those, we could bring you, it could be a heavily rewritten version. I know personally that's what I would like to do, because I feel like what you have is very detailed. It's very long, but it doesn't say a whole lot.
Correct.
And I think there are things that you could say very succinctly about what you're looking to do here. I don't know if
The only reason I brought that up, I don't want to lose sight of what we did in 219 and what we propose to do in 2024.
Mhm. And we always want to work from where you've been, and use that as a base, and don't want to forget that work, so. But would that be okay to have a fairly rewritten version to come back
That's
to?
what I was expecting.
Okay,
I was under the impression that the edit came from 2016, but it was a starting point to see what areas we still felt were, we'll call them pseudo-important, right? Some had check marks, some didn't, right?
Mhm.
And then what wasn't, because there were some that didn't have the check marks, which I'd assume we would most likely take out.
okay.
But a full rewrite was what I expected to.
That'll be at your next session. So we have an open house on March 10th. And because we knew we had this workshop, it's an opportunity to have a dry run. So what we'd like you to do is come to the back, and I've set it up. Well, Mateo and I set it up based on what the room would probably look like.
Bigger?
We will be, in the back, we'll be
Well,
at
the
the,
room will be bigger, though.
what?
The
That,
room would be bigger, not just that.
yes, if you've been to the Legacy Center, or Legacy 925, I guess is what you're supposed to call it. If you come into G's Pizza and you go to the left, there's an area that's up a couple of steps. That's where we'll be. So you come in and you're kind of in an atrium area where you can see the two other areas where I think there's axe throwing or
Yeah,
other. And so if your back's to the entrance, that west entrance, that back entrance, you turn to the left, you can go up a couple steps. And there is, it's a raised area, it's a room probably twice as big as that space. But we could have, and we'll have pop and lemonade and fruit and veggie trays, light refreshments, but try and get people to come in and do these activities. So we'd like you tonight to do the activities, to tell us where we need more context, maybe which activities wouldn't work. I have a board for transportation, but we weren't sure what to put on it, also based on the discussion tonight. So if you could come back and walk through, we'd really appreciate your input in order to get those things right.
is there a soda?
No refreshments tonight, sorry.
There will be on the 10th.
There will be on the
If you'd
10th,
like to
Sunday
attend.
the 10th,
Should we
from
just
noon
wait
to
until the
3.
10th to come? You want us to come back now?
Yeah.
Okay.
That means move.
Hi, how are you?
We're just trying to figure
Right here.
Alright, so the way this works is if you were there, we would say, this would be the first thing you would see before you went up those steps.
Huh? You're supervisor? Someone's got to.
Trying to get people to come in, exciting.
I'm gonna stand out with balloons.
I was told by the folks at Legacy Center to bring balloons,
Oh, really?
actually.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
You could do that.
So, myself, Mateo, Grayson, some other people from the steering committee, any one of you planning commissioners, we would wanna have a person by each station who could explain things and help people. We would write up instructions for people and ask you to be there at 11:30 so we could go over things. But really right now, we want you to come through, I can answer questions, Mateo can answer questions, and then it's designed for you to kind of go, if this is noon, to go clockwise around.
First
And-
question.
yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you. Are these the size of the boards we can do bigger?
These are the size of the boards, but what we can do is have more boards. So if you feel like this is too small, they
I think
can,
it's just too much on, well, too much on there and some of the pictures are,
Too many maps on one.
yeah, bigger,
So that's two boards is what you're saying.
okay.
at least 2 boards. I'd like it bigger, but
Almost one board per map.
Yeah, well, really what this is supposed to be, is we talked about it, that, what does a master plan do? I think we talked about this at the steering committee. So to give an example, so this was the small area plan that was done in the 90s for the area that was Waterstone, when it was a gravel pit. And so if you look at that, based on the aerial photo today, you'll see that
a little different.
they're a little different, but it got implemented. The Market Street rezoning, so this site that's right
You're
here,
trying to stir the pot?
no,
That's
I'm,
my question.
I'm saying that this is when the master plan prevented something. Because it was future land use plan for commercial. 2 times it was requested to be multiple family, both times it was denied, because it was contrary to the future land use plan. So with the land use plan, yeah, I know, and we're skating there, yeah.
Just
But we were asked by the steering committee to give an example of when the master plan had caused something to be implemented and when it had prevented something. If you have a better example than this, to not stir the pot, then we can. And then also with that too, we can ask people to come in and then tell us what they think that should be master planned, if they think it's something different, or keep it that same way.
We can do Colts Road property because it only stirs the pot with me.
Okay. So come in.
We're having any comment from.
Okay, so anything on this one to bring people in?
We good here?
What type of activities you have for kids,
Um,
other than it's at?
no, coloring of zoning maps. We'll print out a big map. There's enough room to have tables in the middle. So there we've had kids' activities where you could color blank zoning maps. We've done that a lot. Have an activity which is, what do you like about the township? So have kids draw their favorite things and we can post them. And then also a large map, and I will raid my neighbors, and maybe we might ask you, any cars, toy cars and trucks for kids to zoom around on maps.
You can bring fools.
So,
I'm not participating, remember?
no. So, if you have any other suggestions about activities for kids.
This one gets the thumbs up?
Okay, And
We
and
know
Linda's
mine.
there with balloons.
I'm
Okay.
there with balloons.
I'll take it.
Balloon, helium? Or just balloons?
Well, just balloons, because you know, helium's are a scarce resource.
Okay.
Too small.
Am I?
No, that's the point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we do
those
this.
little baby balls, do you know? Yeah.
Okay.
Kids love
Usually those instruction boxes are all that size, so we'll
100%
make them bigger.
opposed to all of them.
All right, so come on in. We've lured you, Linda has gotten all of you to come in.
No, 100%.
All right. The first thing we do is ask you to mark where you live. So everybody gets a pin, you can mark where you live. I picked that map because it was the easiest one for me to grab at that point that had all of the roads on it, but it could absolutely be something else. Also, the other thing I wondered when putting these together is, do we need on these maps to orient people, put a landmark at significant landmarks?
But you are here, maybe,
Well, you are here, okay.
because that's where everybody's gonna reference themselves from.
Maybe.
I hope so, 'cause that's what they're.
Would you wanna do
That's what I
something
always
else,
think.
like Township Hall,
I was
Sea
gonna
Lake
say that.
Park, or?
Well, Phil had a good point. If you can't find your street with a name on it, you got bigger problems than.
I agree, but a lot of people don't know.
Would you take them to the?
Well,
You've only got two people that know
I mean,
where
a
they
lot of the
live.
younger generation
I
can't.
mean, it's like, you know, if you can't
I know.
Put
figure that.
GPS or Waze in.
Right.
That's fine.
Everybody puts
Sharp
their name on it,
objects,
it's supposed to.
yeah.
You should put it in for you.
Cause I know where everybody is.
Okay, so should I use that map or a different map without the colors?
Did you go bigger?
We can get bigger,
Come on, Jeff,
Bigger the better.
Don't be afraid.
okay.
It's gonna be a general comment.
Come on, Phil, you can do it. I know you can. Don't make me put it on there.
I think the colors, they're not important to the map, but it helps break it up into areas and it'll
Mhm.
be easier to find, I think.
That's the voting, is that the voting one?
No, that
This
was,
is the zoning.
this was, no, we use that for the rec plan.
That's right. So there's the voting, I think the voting districts are-
Mhm.
I didn't think you were used to it.
Okay, so you are here on all the maps, where the Legacy Center, and any other landmarks that we should call out on the maps.
Sort of.
It's a Rainer's house.
All right, I'm not hearing anything, so I'm
I
saying.
don't think so. I
Okay.
think we'll be okay without,
Well, you
without
might,
them.
you might have somebody stationed close by that's good with the map.
Mhm.
So if somebody wants to
Bring the
know,
Boy Scouts.
Yeah, that'd be a good thing, activity with the kid, ask them which way is north, east, south.
It was a sharp object,
You don't wanna be here all day.
It's amazing how few people can navigate that way.
I get mad in a car when I rent a car and I can't find the damn compass.
Yeah.
Cause I wanna know which direction you're going.
Okay,
And
So-
other than that, I mean, I'll just turn it, figure it out.
I know you're all sick of it, because you, some of you have done it 2 or 3 times, but the like, change, improve, missing, exercise. Instead, just have people write things on sticky notes and put them up, but if kids are drawing things, or people have pictures, whatnot.
How many people are
put
we
them there.
expecting at this event? How many people?
Hopefully.
Right, that board's way too small. It's
Well,
gotta be 10
It's,
kids.
well, you can
It's gotta be that
have
one, in my-
multiple sheets.
what we can do is have
I
4,
don't know if we can get a wall. Put it
Yeah.
on the wall and just tape it up.
like, okay.
That's just my 2 cents. We're getting bigger, it's better.
Well, we're hoping for 100,
Big
but
as well.
it depends on how many we can drag in.
And we can also, what happens is once things get busy, what we do is take them down. We'll leave some, but take them down so that people do have spaces. So, but maybe 4 boards, put them up on the wall, and then we can tape them up. Okay.
how do you plan
Just
to
paint the wall.
publicize
We
this
have
meeting?
flyers out. We're gonna send a mass email out, hopefully tomorrow, to everybody who signed up on the survey and said they wanted to be notified of events. It's been on social media. I think CJ is contacting the Oxford Leader.
And we're talking about it tonight, and everybody's watching this meeting.
So,
Well,
So, I mean, hits
I
the
can,
Facebook
I can
page.
have Cheryl send to all of you the
That's
flyer.
us.
But you should have seen it up around. I know
Well,
you've posted some places.
CJ posted on the Oxford website, or like sort of Facebook page, we can share it.
Yeah.
also, didn't the school put it on the peach tree? Peach tree?
I haven't seen this
Peach
yet,
jar.
that survey yet, but I haven't.
And we can put it on the community forum. And on-
DNR has it, so, and then remember the Polynesian Show meeting last night,
Yeah.
and they,
Crazy.
That's not a lot of opinions.
I read it the last.
Mhm. Okay.
I'm always supposed to.
All right,
No,
so
I'm not just
obviously,
looking at a camera
he
thing.
said the map needs to be bigger, but,
I said in general.
in general, so what we were asking people to do here is to look at the map we have land, we've kept colors based on what things are, and say just a simple exercise of what do you wanna preserve, what do you wanna change? So, like, I imagine that we would get a lot of these green dots
Especially if you're gonna use a dot that size.
here.
You're gonna need a bigger map.
These could
Get
be
a smaller
small,
dot or bigger map.
That's correct.
yeah, smaller dot or bigger maps.
Yeah.
And then change, imagine somebody might say, M24.
Only if you're right.
The red is for what?
Change.
Change. And it, I can use yellow too, we can,
Will they know what they're looking to try to change and keep?
and then
I
if
mean,
you,
is
The
it,
purpose.
if you had any other opinions on it, you could write on a card,
okay,
and then somebody would be stationed here. A lot of times, when I'm at a station like this, people just wanna talk, and I'll write things on cards and drop them in the basket. Some people wanna do it on their own.
My recommendation for
The bigger map.
these, well, bigger map.
Yeah,
first, but take these out, put these two on a separate board, make the map the whole board. If you can do that. It's the, just above it or something.
Yeah.
So it's bigger,
Mhm.
makes more room. Unless you got a big enough piece of.
What about
I don't know how big your lot is.
an overlay
We can do bigger.
that shows where we were 15 years ago versus now, the changes of where we've come from, and then get people to, where do you want to see us 10 years from now?
Don't jump ahead.
I think what I could do though, that's gonna be hard to do on boards, but we have 3 television screens in the
You
room.
do a video.
So we could do a looping slideshow, so we could do exactly
How
that.
far could we go back?
For an existing land use?
Yeah,
Just kind of show like a progression, just like a video.
I think I still have the old World Book encyclopedia that has a picture of the grass
Yeah.
pit where Meyer is.
Yeah.
Like a 2010.
the gateway has it. Downtown Gateway,
Oh,
if you go
Gateway
back,
would definitely have.
if you go back, you can go back to like the 1920s to see what a piece of property looked like. For the-
Okay.
It wouldn't have
The
land use,
aerial
though.
view.
It's just
It wouldn't have
gonna be
land use, but it would have aerials, I mean, it's not just,
okay.
Just, big thing, fine, cool.
maybe not for the 20s, but maybe at least for the 40s.
I don't know if I go back that far, I think we need to have somewhere.
Well, there's a lot of photography or a lot of photos from before Waterstone, during Waterstone construction, and then after Waterstone.
Okay.
That might be a good start.
Yeah,
Just a
because it was
suggestion.
such a huge development at the time
It doesn't, yeah.
that it impacted a lot of people. So I think if you could just do the Waterstone, this is what was set for here, and this is how it worked out.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of photographic evidence and aerial photos.
Okay.
From the gateway. So
Okay.
and that limits it, you can't bring in the whole township. But that is, everybody knows Waterstone. Everybody knows what was there, everybody knows what went.
Myers across the street as well.
Myers across the street,
I bet there's a lot of people who don't know what was there before.
really?
Oh, yeah. Figure how many people are new to this community?
That's true,
Mm.
that's true.
Okay.
I got run out of there a couple times as a kid, I was with the cop. That's another story.
Bad sample population.
Okay, so we've been over this. Here was, talked about the service boundary. So Mateo, we said primary urban service was water and sewer.
Yeah, I was looking at the map earlier. It seems to be the district where you have your water sewer, and
And
then the orange is sewer only.
That's today, so
Correct.
That's
should
today's.
there be some dotted
I
lines
would
on
def-
where you'd
since
like
we're
it to
ready
go
to-
in the future?
Break ground?
Break ground, we need to, I would suggest it maybe in red, put the mark, Ray Road up. Stop it at, Dunlap-ish area, because that's, we're gonna have dirt in a month or soon.
Oh, but yeah.
It's not accurate. We don't have water anywhere in the green zone, so.
No,
Oh.
that's
Well,
where
you just plan to have it.
it's where you're planning to have it. So it would say that within these areas, that's where these can happen. They can't happen anywhere else. So obviously, we need to add
Should have tapped into it.
some
Bottom
language
line.
on that.
Can't afford sewer.
And then, so really kind of when Mateo and I were laying these out, looked at this and thought, oh, we really can ask a question. And do we ask a question with this? And the question we talked about as a planning commission is, do these service boundaries change? And when the service boundaries change, what it changes is it unlocks other development.
Water and sewer, did you check with Jim Sharp?
Jim.
He's making a new one up to see.
Yeah, we'll double check it with
Thank
him,
you.
yeah.
Well, maybe the question is it adequate?
No.
You've got industrial,
No, but that's like, what she was saying is what is proposed adequate, is kind of like, she was asking a question, or what should we be asking? And my question was, is that adequate? So that was for the people that come up.
Mm-hmm.
What's the water and sewer committee have?
So Water Sewer Committee asked for a new master plan to be developed for water and sewer, because it's very old. They checked with Jim, they'll be able to confirm the boundaries, but they'll also be able to get exact for the new, and there's some work.
We modified about 10 years ago, so we need this to be added.
What,
It wasn't added.
10 years from now, wouldn't you want water and sewer all the way up to the
Okay, so,
Elmore Township?
So that was the question I had.
The goal is to get it up to,
so maybe
10-year plan, 20-year plan, 30-year
Yeah.
plan type of thing.
so the question maybe should be, where should utilities be in 10 years?
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm just wondering if you
I
wanna
mean,
ask.
right now, is this where they are
We don't know
today?
what's different answers.
Right, I don't know if you're
Some
gonna get
people
any,
don't want any.
right, I don't know if you're gonna get valuable information off of where
Well-
should we put water?
I think what you would get is whether there's political support or not. Like, you could know real quick.
But it's gonna vary on the location.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't put internet on there. It's a-
It's almost like you'd wanna divide it into zones and say, yes, no, should we add water sewer to this
Oh,
block? Cause otherwise it's just a wide open map.
Well, it's, I mean, it's, and again, that's why someone will be by the boards.
yeah.
But it's really, it's a development question. You can get anything your heart's desires in the blue. You get a little bit lower of an intense use in the orange, and the white is the white. So, that's septic, that you can only support such development in those areas. Every one of these areas can only support a certain level of development. So are these boundaries moving so that more types of development can come into these areas? Or are they staying the same to kind of keep the development trends as they are? There is some it kind of leads you into the question about, water and sewer open up the gates for different types of intensive uses. But I
right
think,
now, the new subs that we know of today are all geared to be around the water and sewer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about the one on the other side of town out here,
East Side and Trader didn't have it when they started
But
doing
there's
that.
areas that we
but
know
they do
that.
now,
They do not.
because of Tullamore, south.
Okay,
And as soon as we talked about moving that sewer north on 24, north of Ray Road, industry started saying, are you gonna go up to Oakland?
There was, he probably knows, but
so
we
maybe,
already discussing, already talking about a grant taken all the way up to Oakwood.
Correct, correct.
So
And then in
mine
the
should show all the way
service
to Dixon
area,
Lake, in my opinion.
part of that new sewer is going to connect to your
Yes.
park, Stony Lake Park, correct?
And,
You're
yeah,
gonna- And
Actually,
then,
Brad Dewey,
Brad Dew.
yeah, well, that was, they were giving that, they already have a grant for that, to go to Brad Dewey.
It's just for the design, isn't it?
Just for the
Yeah, sure.
designs, or that's,
The hookup itself, I don't know.
yeah, that's a different ballpark.
so maybe what we do
Yeah.
is just highlight that, could this be extended up here? And with the idea of zones, is that, ask nicely about that question.
Hmm?
Okay,
Just give them a couple options on there, like Phil said, give them 2 or 3 options, say yes, yes, no, no,
mm-hmm.
Some green stickers.
green.
Yeah, just better than a wide open map, that's all, I don't know
Yeah.
if you're gonna
Well-
get quality input.
What you could do is have this as informational and have something like we have over here where we're asking people to vote on different things. You could use this sort of
Now
model.
you're jumping ahead.
I
One at a
know.
time.
So, okay, so,
Clear?
clear.
Yep.
This one's a little, we're working with various people at Township to really whittle down on this map what would be developed in the next 10 years.
You color coding it, what do you mean by development?
So,
Could be residential, could be industrial, could be commercial.
could be industrial, could be commercial, and asking people, what should it be? So,
So you're asking them what it should be.
yes,
In the
And-
next 10 years.
in the next 10 years, so that, for instance, I'm just gonna pick on the golf course. Should it be an open space or PUD, a residential where you're using some sort of open space preservation measure? Should it be commercial, single-family housing, or a job center? It could be medical, research, factory, office. Those are the 4 categories I had. And little tiny dots, and I did not specifically said not a park. Because if you give people that option, they're just gonna say it.
What's wrong with that?
Well, not all of these are gonna go to park, and they.
I'm not saying they all need to, but certain ones probably should be considered.
Mhm. Well, I could put in park, but then we might get a lot of those.
Well, wouldn't that tell you what the township residents want?
Alright. Group, should we put in parks?
I say parks.
Okay,
We've been covering them all along.
alright.
How do you
Carrying the vote for them.
determine some of these areas?
These are all areas that
You guys all said that until
we
they
think
come and
that
says
will
they need
change in the next 10 years.
few more
So
mills
that they're
to
gonna
support
have
all
some
these
sort of change in use or ownership. So, we
Do
know
the
the
voters
golf
consider
course
that
is up
the
for
voters
sale.
consider?
It's these,
A what?
I've
Yeah,
highlighted.
these two here.
It's not a millage.
I don't know that,
Well,
we
he
don't
doesn't
know
wanna
that, I don't think
expand
those
his
are
rentals.
in here, so they'd be off the map.
Give
Yeah,
the government
okay.
money, now they
So
need
we
to
look
know.
at
It
this.
just came out in the
Yeah.
paper today that
That's the issue.
Mhm.
You got
Devil's
up in
Ridge
there.
golf course
You can up in
has
there.
been sold.
No, I'm not
Okay.
complaining, I am not complaining, we're talking about the county.
Oh, sorry.
Hmm?
I complain about that.
Yeah, it is.
That's-
Yeah.
It's not
He
the
only
route.
goes down so far, then he stops.
Okay,
He's got a roadblock.
do you feel like on,
We have 13
These-
roadblocks.
if we get it down to 10 different parcels, I'm hoping we can, do you feel like we should have call-out boxes from each one explaining the circumstance? Like especially for the ones that are extractive, that there's gonna be some limitations on them?
Yes.
Yeah,
I
but
think
if you
so.
go too deep, people aren't gonna.
Yeah, it's too much on that.
Correct.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they're gonna, I don't understand.
Can you break that map down into quadrants?
Yeah, I think that would be
Okay.
better because
So 4 different maps.
if, you know, it's too much information
Yeah.
and you're dealing with people that can't find their
And
street
bigger.
on a map, so,
You need a bigger room.
you know.
We
Yeah.
might have to
Can you
go
make the
back
map
and
bigger?
start.
Yeah.
We'll break it into quadrants, it'll be
Yeah.
So
bigger.
we're gonna bank, you're gonna have 100 people, you're gonna.
This is,
in my opinion.
I spent the morning on this in the township, working on this. This needs a lot of work for our future goals. So, to get everything to fit together,
Mhm.
so.
Okay. And then some of these things, if you think they're too complicated, then we can take them off and just do the other activities as well. These were,
Personally, I open up, I think you have too much already
okay,
for people to, you're gonna lose their.
so what do we, what,
I don't know,
let's
but I'm
go
just
through
saying.
it and then let's say what
Transfer
goes out,
stations in general.
okay? Natural
Too big already.
features, we had, just an activity showing what they were, a map where they were, and with a green marker, mark what you think should be protected. And then we talked a lot about different open, we talked a lot about preservation. And when we had these in the survey and took them out about different open space preservation techniques. So these 2 boards explain it, and this is where you would vote with dots about which one you would like to see where. And I used again Waterstone as a former gravel mine, as something on planned development, and then Sanctuary Hills, which was just approved, which I don't think everybody in the community really knows about.
You're gonna get a lot of questions on those two.
They're gonna lose their minds.
Yes.
questions.
So is that worth keeping this here?
I would say yes, because people need to be aware of what's going to be coming,
So if you wanna set the reality of what's already coming,
Yes.
and give people,
you know, because this is all
That's
beautiful.
that one right
Right.
there. The
Well-
reality of what it could be is right
Right.
there.
yeah, but
Exactly.
with these ones that people don't even know are coming,
Right.
like, here's a perfect example.
Mhm.
Where 50% of the open space is preserved.
And right, to add fuel to the fire, right across the street from Sanctuary, there is another one planned with 236 homes.
Then across from that one,
Yeah.
Then across from that one.
Yeah. I think it should stand, just so people are aware of what is happening. That more ties all of this together than just about anything. You look at that and you're like, wait a minute, what's this about? This is what the master plan is speaking to.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what we've got. This is what's coming.
That ties
This is
to that.
what
yes,
could
it's an
happen.
example, it's
Mhm.
two
Right.
examples of,
And these are some options
These red
that we
boxes.
can utilize in our community. You know, everybody that CJ ever interviews always said, the reason I come to Oxford is because of the small town feel and the open natural areas, and we moved out of Royal Oak and Birmingham and, you know, wherever. Now we don't wanna just, don't, you know, it's like, okay, you got 2 inches of green space, let's put 10 houses in there. And, you know, people need to know what's coming, people need to know what could come, and I think,
I agree with that. I hear you.
Yeah.
Just looking at this one, it's almost too complicated, I think.
Too much on it.
Well, too much on there, but you're asking people, there's a lot of information that they have no idea about, so they spend a lot of time
So-
doing that. So it's almost like, that, I mean, I like somehow asking them questions, but is it, how do you ask it a different way versus having to show all that? And really, somewhat of a guidance that you're looking for.
That land conservation easement purchase thing is really gonna,
well, now
You're
if
asking
you,
them to be planner now almost.
now if you had somebody like me standing at the station, which I can do, I can explain it quite well to just about anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I can talk to anybody about it, because that's all I do all day. Somebody like Phil, you could speak to it too, you know?
So you couldn't.
Yeah.
you can't do that, only I can do that.
Yeah, okay, you can, you can't, no, but, you know, when people ask about that, people like Phil and I, we know exactly what we're looking at.
I hear, but the type of people who are gonna come into this room, a lot of this is gonna be, holy crap, what is all this? Yeah, I'm interested,
Yeah, we really do.
Yeah.
but I don't know a lot about any of this.
Right.
But it's gonna, to me, it's gonna be overwhelming.
Mhm.
That's just my opinion. And if you
but
really
you
want
can't,
good
the
feedback.
trouble we have though is that land conservation easement purchase, that's being talked about in the township.
Mhm.
The Sanctuary Hills is still being talked about because we have some sewer pump station to put in to support that. So we have lots of things that are still being talked about. Would we not want the public to know that?
I have no issue with the public knowing it, but I'm looking to, you're trying to get feedback from them, right?
Mhm.
And a lot of times when people, when they get overwhelmed with data, overwhelmed with information, they just kind of
They
zone
retreat.
out, they back out, because there's too much.
They go get a Coca-Cola.
Yeah, go get a Coke or a beer at the bar and
Yeah.
skip it, or they're gonna stop at that one and they're gonna skip the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
So unless you're gonna put that at the end, which maybe you do, just put it at the very end and people skip it, they skip it.
All right, so the other thing that we had,
I'm starting at the end.
I had a transportation board, but I don't know what to put on it. Because honestly, I think we can recognize that transportation is an issue, but a lot of the things in terms of the road planning and the gravel, and it's all, it would all be contingent on working with other agencies and
We have what we have
Mhm.
until we can change it. And it's very easy, either the township pours money into suggesting that the county put new roads in. We work with the developers that as they're developing to put through traffic roads in, if they're willing to do that in the development. And then the rest of it is on, I'm sorry?
No.
He said something bad, just keep moving. Keep going on your train of thought, John.
Then the widening of the roads and the making of the roads has to come from far more than what we have to offer.
Well,
Dunlap Road is slated now for 2027, by the time that gets done.
So
That's supposed
is
to
there a
be changed.
transportation question that you would wanna ask the people who come to this open
Well, I
house?
think the difference is, when I see transportation, I'm not thinking roads, but all the conversation, I'm talking about roads.
Right.
When I'm talking transportation, I'm talking about that dirty deed the county did with passing transportation millage.
Mhm.
That's what I'm thinking when I see transportation. Now, if we wanna talk roads, very specific part of that, that you may get feedback in, but I don't know if you're gonna get anything that's gonna help.
Well, what you might do is take two major approaches. I agree with what you're saying about modes of transportation other than vehicles and trucks. And then another section, roadways, and then explain, what do we have to do to get roads? We have to go to the road commission, we have to go to the state, we have to put money in from the township. Let people know the roadblocks and the work it takes to get the roads.
The problem with that is, people don't care about that. They pay their taxes, they want a road. And
You can
we
put a
had,
simple question out there.
and,
I said
and
it under my breath.
we,
You want a
like,
road village in Oxford
Yeah.
Township to pay for new roads?
Yeah.
Maybe
That's
it's,
no.
maybe it's as simple as putting an FYI board on roads, on how roads are
yeah,
developed and funded here, and there's no
That's-
question,
yeah,
it's just an
that's
info
not-
board.
yeah.
What happens if we divided it into phases? We have the gravel roads that we can improve on. We have new roads within new developments. And then we have expansion of the current blacktop asphalt roads as we know today. Those are kind of our three
Current road
options.
system,
I mean, where can they,
current road system.
where's funding come from? How's road commission funded? What's their responsibility? What's the
Yeah.
township's
Check.
responsibility?
Let it check.
No, I'm just, these are all FYIs that the general
I'll
public,
give you a whole presentation, but there's stuff in road
Yeah.
commission yesterday.
That's the point. The
you
general
like to have a
public
vote?
doesn't
No.
know that
I get those.
Oakland
The road commission might like
County
to
is
be there.
responsible
Can I
for
ask
the
them?
roads.
I can ask them.
And so you
Mine.
gotta convince
So
them
that's
to give you
contact
the
the
money.
road commission.
Now, how much does MDOT fit into all of these little pieces, you know?
A little bit on M24,
Yeah,
so they contract with the county to take care of this.
cause I mean,
They need to do
you know, we get,
three
what,
Dennis
the last budget was $6 billion for road constructions in the state of Michigan?
Yeah, but they're 9 billion underfunded.
Right, I know. So, I mean, we're not gonna get any assistance from them.
I don't think I would go and say we're not gonna get any.
Yeah.
It's gonna take an effort to get more. You're gonna have to continue to ask and ask, cause
Yeah.
they're doing their road construction and their projects based on safety, is the number one.
Right,
So where there's the most accidents, that's where we're focused.
are you guys still doing tri-party?
Yes. I mean, it's not enough.
Okay.
No, but
$2
it's,
million a year, so.
it's a start. I mean, it's an
something.
option.
Six to
So FYI board on transportation, because people will ask about it and then.
On roads.
On roads, sorry, roads,
Yeah, not
Roads.
transportation.
roads.
Road.
You have it in there, FYI board on roads.
Yep.
Like, is that, MDOT or is it smart?
Yeah. Okay, so the other thing was, and I kind of promised the safety path committee we would do this, so this one we need to keep,
I agree.
is priorities
Just
and
got the
then,
one piece.
I did it as a demonstration.
Is it gonna be larger?
So you give everybody,
You guys are killing it.
still had to cut the yarn, but we give everybody a piece of yarn that's a
So
mile.
we'll get some more yarn.
And so then if everybody thinks that this part of Seymour Lake, they can stack their yarn.
Where's that going?
To the park, yay! Instead of nowhere to Bar Road. Why did we put it to nowhere on Bar Road? I don't know.
Which a resident told me that when that park was being built and developed in the sixties, that was a promise that there would be a path
Yes.
to the park.
Yes, it was.
I'm like, sorry, I wasn't here, but I'm in favor of it.
It's all your fault.
All right, so consensus was, we have too much,
Too much what?
Too much what?
Everything,
Too much
information.
Yes.
too much information.
She meant pass.
So did I.
No, so what goes? What is not
What are
important?
these two for?
Those were just there for information, they're future land use and zoning, I figured somebody might ask, and we'd have them there.
Okay, so they're not, there's no questions for these, so that takes
No,
those two.
those are
Okay,
just-
that
Can we
makes
make
sense.
those smaller?
Combine.
There's a reason why you're the chairman.
This is the only board that I was like,
The utilities,
I just thought it was hard, it was gonna be hard to get valuable feedback, that's all.
and the utilities, I don't think we really need to ask, because I think it's already there. Okay,
I would suggest that, if it's all right with the other folks on the planning commission.
This
Not
one.
the-
You can put a question,
It's
as
your,
would
it's
they,
your plan.
would they support an extra tax bill?
All right, so this one goes.
You said you wanted it?
I think that,
Do you want it? All right,
You
so,
can use that board to put another one, see?
yeah, because they're gonna be bigger.
Yep.
I don't want you to take that away because I said it.
no, we are.
Just put no, no says no.
Yeah, they're everybody.
buy yourself right in and just start, she asked the question, no one answered, so.
Yeah,
Oh,
nope.
oh, you're giving
I-
me.
And we would move
I
that
take
one to
it
the end,
as,
right?
She's gonna put it in the living room.
So the
Oh,
safety
thank
pad
you.
We
would
have,
come
we
up
have
front.
a perfect spot.
As a facilitator, often I take silence as agreement. Okay,
So I spoke up.
thank you. So what else? I
What is
mean,
this one for?
You probably don't need this one back here, given for reference.
okay,
I think it would be confusing, because it says future land use, and you're trying to work through land use over there.
and zoning's probably gonna be confusing too.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, so these two wouldn't come. So they go back to our office,
What's the purpose of this one?
to know what you wanna preserve.
All right.
So
good.
maybe this one and that one really
Oh, well.
duplicate each other and you take that off.
Because I agree, I think most people are just gonna say, because most people, yeah, I come in here, I wanna preserve everything too. But what does that mean? Most people don't know that. It's easier to say, I wanna keep it. So you say, okay, I'm gonna put
Okay,
this there, and they're like, oh, hold on, maybe. What's he taking off?
natural features.
I have
We have a vote on
P9
this,
photos
Mr.
of
Chair?
that.
Mr. Chair, can we take a vote?
People need tea, let's go.
Tea.
Yeah, dinner. Need tea.
Why are you doing friction?
Alright, so this is what we have left, is
How many
Linda's outside, or one of us is outside getting everybody to come in. They get some explanation of what a master plan is, that's broken into 2 boards in terms of demonstration of what's done. You come in and you say where you live, like, change, improve, missing. Also that, we already have built an electronic survey, so they could just click it, and QR code or whatnot, and they could do it. What should be preserved and changed, obviously much bigger map. Would this, I'm gonna ask another question. Would this be better as an aerial photo rather than this map?
I would use the map, because aerial photos are disorienting.
Okay, use map, got it. All right. This is down to 10
10 to 15.
10 to 15, broken into quadrants. We add a park, and we have dots where they can place them.
Was that, Mike, was that a speed to order?
Yeah,
Maybe.
Yeah.
Well,
And
it's like
then
preserve or
This
change.
really leads into that,
Zoning.
is
Okay, if you don't.
you put
like,
this in
how
front of this,
Do you normally even know what's on?
safety path in front of
Yeah,
this.
I think that's
And
just,
that's the
Yeah.
problem,
Yeah, I
you're
think we
giving
should-
the general public too
All right.
too
That's
much.
gonna be.
There's not
These
enough
two at the end,
information about what you're
And then
asking
what
for.
we're
I don't
asking,
think
we
this
still
one is
ask
good.
about these
I don't
preservation
think-
techniques,
If you had a zoning map next to it.
but people will probably spend a lot of time with this.
Yeah.
So
I'll
we
put
might,
that board in between,
Mhm.
this in between?
Yeah.
so I can kind of tie the two together.
Okay,
And if you had like the zoning board here, you could look at what's zoning, and then you could like dictate where it
Then these go away,
what the stickers in.
and we're gonna have
That would-
roads.
And then if they had a question
road, a
about
road
zoning,
FYI board.
Are you gonna ask for any input?
No,
on that?
just
Why-
don't.
I personally
No, that's what we all said, no.
I even
Yeah.
know, but I still,
Well, you've got such a large board and.
Right.
I
one,
mean, you
two,
can
three
ask the same
items.
question you asked us.
because you're like, oh, maybe I want this one, but
Right.
how do you know what
Current
this
road's
is?
sufficient.
How do you know what this is?
Yeah.
How much does it cost to pave a mile
But
road?
you have to
Yeah,
keep
that's
referencing it.
Mhm.
But
Okay,
I think if you had like a
Um,
zoning
right.
thing,
All right.
and people could
So-
ask more specific questions,
all right.
people that are gonna look at this,
That'll never happen until we pay for it, so.
That's correct.
they're gonna have a question.
So
You
we'll,
can put that on too, if you wanna repay for stuff, you need SAD.
all right.
Well, it's not done. And here's the paperwork.
Wait, we're done.
But I think
All right,
if
what
you had a
else do you
zoning
think?
board next to this, that would
You
be-
looking for a road?
I think this one here will be really helpful because it's
Yeah.
very specific
Mhm.
ideas.
Yes.
I
I don't
think
wanna
this
pay
one
for
is
it.
gonna be really challenging.
Yeah.
I think this one here
It's
will
not
not
like
be
this.
Do you,
what
do you
you're
think,
doing.
so what do you, how do you think we would do this better?
I just think,
It would look really bad over there. it's really unclear, like, somebody coming up that has no knowledge of what you're asking for is asking, they don't know what you're asking or where you're asking. I just don't think that it's a clear request of what you're looking for. That's the best way to describe it,
Right.
because I'm still a little confused about it.
Okay,
I mean, I get it, I understand, but I think that anybody coming in would have difficulty. I think this one here will be much more valuable than that.
I think you need the right facilitator for that one.
But then you'd have to explain it 100 times,
Absolutely.
each time,
Yeah,
so
so-
that's why, I think it either has to be.
What'd you say, Jack?
I'll do it. The tail can do that.
right, well, and the other thing that we can do too is, we have, from the survey, a visual representation
Right,
of each of all of these.
right.
What it looks like from, what it looks like from an aerial.
But you,
In
so
terms of
let's say you
density.
want it changed, what do you want it changed to? So let's say you say, oh, here, I would love to have this changed. What do you want it changed to?
And then that person would, you would have a facilitator there, or they would write it down on the card.
Card, put the card in. So you gotta have, this is one of those you gotta have manned.
That
Yeah.
one's gonna be a really.
That's gonna be a challenge. I say zoning,
I think we need a person.
a person.
So I'm out.
I think you're.
Well, myself, I mean, I can do that one too. So,
And I've no problem doing the recreation and open space ones, cause I can speak to that.
So who's gonna get him in the door if you're back there doing that?
You both big things.
So as you kind of see this, right, and sometimes when you think of a master plan, it's not just your residential, but it's also your commercial and industrial. Everything that I see here is all residential essentially. Is there anything highlighting, or, it's, obviously there is safety plan, but everything is residential that I see here.
Good point.
well, these, in terms of a woodlands ordinance, that affects commercial and industrial. That land conservancy can as well. The open space millage, the bioprotect, that affects agriculture.
But what I'm kind of saying is that, your areas of, commercial, because you want commercial to be in certain areas to help build up your town, to help build up your community, for jobs and for shopping and for people to come to there. I don't see any representation of that.
Can you make that map with different squares where the red squares for industrial, for commercial development, blue would be for residential? Will that help distinguish what the future development is proposed?
For industrial?
Because that would give us a future land use for commercial.
Well, what you could do is for each one of these, call out what they're planned for right now.
Yeah.
Cause some of these are, like this spot would be planned for commercial.
How many different categories would you think? Could you do each category or each box a different color based on the category?
Yeah, and we can keep that consistent with the zoning, and you can add
That would
those
help.
commercial industrial, but honestly, like, if you look at, this is your zoning map,
Right.
the only thing, your office,
Could you go backwards and put the red outlays on the zoning map?
Maybe that might be a better, how you were
Yeah,
saying before,
yeah,
that would be a better one than this, because then you can see what each one of those ones
Exactly.
are. And you can see, all right, this one here is agricultural, yes, we wanna keep that.
Exactly.
We don't wanna change that, we
so
wanna keep
use
this.
this as
Exactly.
the base
I
of
think
that
that's better
instead of
than
the
this
existing
one.
Well,
land
A
use.
little bigger.
And that one.
Yeah.
Put it as a base map of that one too.
Yeah.
How do you, how would you?
Can't you combine this one into this?
It's the same.
Yeah, I can put this layer over here.
The layers over here,
You're doing the same thing for both of those.
Yeah, but that one really outlines your mining gravel pits. That's the one that's outlining, which you don't see it on this.
Right.
You know that these ones are gonna end at some point in time, and they're going to turn into.
No, those squares would just go on this map.
yeah,
Okay,
put the squares on that map.
okay.
Yeah.
So
And
you
that
can
way-
see the
yeah.
area, how
Oh,
it's
I
zoned is
understand.
affected.
Right,
How it's zoned or how it's planned?
how it's zoned and.
Well, that's the zoning map, right?
It's- Yeah,
So
as
if
it's
you
zoned
overlay
today.
these boxes on here, people have a general idea, they're like, well,
Then
this
this
is gonna
map,
be public, this is the golf course, picking on the golf course again.
And then if it
My
had the
favorite
red
subject.
outline, that could be the potential of.
Development,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
that right now, if you look at this, I know that this is zoned for 1 acre lots, and only 140 acres is buildable, so the max you can think of in that mindset is 140 units. However, The developer wants to have it rezoned and put in 600 units. Now, that is gonna crush in 24. Yeah.
This one, could we have the dots go on that one as well?
It's easy to pick up.
Right, I think that's, so I think where it's at is the zoning map is the base for
Everything
that.
else on the map.
It's the base for this with the lots overlaid. And, you know, think of the order too, right?
But if
So
you're
you-
over here putting these red dots on the green dots, you're gonna wanna reference that one to know it's there. You know?
Well, or is this kind of the unadulterated opinion,
How many
right,
times
of without even having this prime you?
Right.
And then you get to this and say, okay, now this is a much sooner reality.
Or what we can do on,
No, that one.
what we can do is have the zoning map here,
Mhm.
but then also maybe highlight our 10 to 15 things in red here and say, you wanna go to the next station to get a more visual.
I want that one.
So that's the
I
zoning
think
map.
you need to use that.
Yeah,
That one. That one.
the
Yes.
zoning map goes here, and my question is.
3 and 1 on that one. Take 3 maps, put on that one with the buttons. These buttons can go over here because everybody's gonna wanna know what street they live on and
Uh-huh,
all the details. And then the red overlay will be on here to show the
future
the
development.
agriculture area that's got a red box in it and things like that.
And
You're
that
gonna,
will,
you're gonna make that 4 times the size, so you're gonna
Yeah.
have the quadrants and it's gonna be
Exactly.
easier to build.
Yes.
very
and
easily.
Megan, that eliminates what two maps.
What it
Yeah.
does is it
Yeah.
opens people's
And that
eyes to the
eliminates
potential
mistakes.
of what,
Mhm.
what is going
Yeah.
to
Because
happen.
everybody's gonna look where the
Well,
house is.
Yes.
first. So you
Shouldn't
can-
there be paperwork that is open for comments
Yeah.
or things that are missed?
yep, we can have a
No,
blank
no
board.
place do we talk about medical services and have a designated area for those.
But you-
No place do we really have the industrial. We have commercial, but commercial and industrial are different. There's nothing up here about industrial.
Industrial / manufacturing.
Yeah.
And retail, they all talk retail, but do we know where they can go or can't go? Or what's been slated for them?
Retail,
Retail.
well, one retail be under your commercial.
No.
No?
All right, well, we can zoom in on the places that are planned for those. And, yeah,
We should-
yeah. Well, or, I mean, really what we could do is just view blank boards and say, if you have ideas on medical, if you have ideas on industrial, if you have ideas on commercial, fill them out here.
Yeah.
Because these boards were based on what was really too complicated on the survey. So a lot of that was addressed on the survey.
Yeah.
And this was what we have a hard time putting into words on the survey.
And the thing is whether you get 10 people or 100 people, you're gonna hopefully get people who wanna give input. And at some point, they may say, okay, I've given what I need to give and I'm out. And it's all still good input, even if they don't
Well,
hit every station.
Right.
And if you're at the Legacy and you got 2 kids in tow, because they wanna go jump, you got about 10 minutes max. If you want, you know, unless, I mean, how many minutes do you have with your group if you go into the Legacy?
Oh, they know we don't jump, so it's not.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't jump? You, this old grandma jumps.
I don't see that.
don't
Can you
do
let them
twisted
jump and
shell
then come in, come to visit us?
Twisted shell?
No, I just said we don't allow our kids to jump there.
Oh,
Oh,
you don't.
Oh,
We don't.
Oh,
Non-jumpers.
Any more broken bones or legs or anything, those are.
all right. Well, thank you. I think
Enough when they don't jump.
you've definitely made it better.
you are very skilled at your craft.
One last question.
Yeah.
Are you doing another dry run of this, once you make a lot of these adjustments? Cause I'm just wondering if you wanna just bring like some random people off the street somehow, I don't know where to do this, but. So can you take a quick look, walk through this and see if it makes sense to you?
Random.
We got seniors.
What I can do is I can, what?
We have seniors in our building every day, so.
The senior center down there,
Put it up there for a day and walk through and just see what happens.
Make it really big so they can see.
Interesting.
And they're gonna be more knowledgeable than most people, just saying.
And just leave it there and see what happens without
I'm there
facilitators?
too.
Because I don't think we can staff it,
That's true.
Oh, our people, got it.
those are our people.
unless it's on a Tuesday and Thursday.
I don't think it has to be all day, I think we could, or,
Well, on Thursday, don't they have the walking group? And
they've
there's like
been
10
walking,
people.
they've been walking on Wednesdays. They
On
play
Wednesday.
cornhole on Thursdays,
Yeah.
so give a few people that way.
Inside?
Yeah.
That's even Spain?
Well, when the weather changes, they go outside.
But most of those people are retired engineers, so they're gonna pick up on this, and they're gonna find the holes in it almost immediately.
All right, so we'll make some revisions. We'll
Sorry.
coordinate, and the tail will come over for an hour on a Thursday. For next Thursday. And then
Bring
probably,
your tennis shoes.
no, it's gonna be next Thursday,
And your coat.
because we don't wanna be making changes to these boards the Thursday before.
Sure.
Can we do that next Thursday?
We won't have any staff there,
What?
They're all going
but we're
there.
at a joint conference.
Okay. What about you're gone on a Tuesday too. What about that Tuesday?
After that.
Yeah, you'll be back?
Well, we'll still be open.
Well, next Tuesday.
I would not invite them to our facility and just leave on their own. That was just not fair to them, so,
So,
I mean, unless there's some nuance that I'm not aware of. I mean, I've been there before. I mean, if I'm there on my own, I'm more than happy to say I know nothing about Parks and Rec. but
If I'm available, I'll come down.
no, I mean, the people we have are regular users, so it's not like they're gonna question us. I mean,
Sure.
and we can give them a heads up that you'll be there, so we can definitely do it.
I'm just saying, if we don't wanna be in a time crunch if a lot of changes come out of this, I don't mind being there by myself.
Well, I would help next Tuesday, but I've got elections.
no, not next Tuesday.
Thursday.
It would be either next Thursday, the 29th, very special day, or March 5th, is the Tuesday.
We can make it work next Thursday to give you enough time, and, I mean, if Mateo's good coming over, we'll.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean,
you're signed up.
I'm sure Tim knows.
Don't come up 24 and take drain orders, too much traffic.
Yeah, I know.
And everything's gonna be bigger. Okay,
If you want help, I'll come down.
All right, I'll let you know. It should be fine.
Bob will join you. Oh, Thursday, no, unless it's later in the morning.
Sorry.
By 8 o'clock,
We're good?
8:30.
all right.
Are our presentation done?
Yeah,
All right, I'm
go
out.
get your bread.
I'm getting some dinner. Tango all day, man. So Megan, keep me posted what you need me to do next,
I will,
all right?
I will.
Yeah.
Get all those minutes?
Grab 'em all.
Oh, no, there's still like new reports and charts.
Okay.
Sparks of genius every once in a while.
So we have gone through unfinished business. Moving on to new business, which I don't see anything. Number 12, communication and or committee reports. We obviously won't have anything from the Economic Development Committee yet. Mr. Knoll, do you want to give an update on the
The sign ordinance went for the first reading at the Township Board last week. There were a few questions, but not many. I don't remember when we're gonna meet next time, Mr. Turner, if you have any idea of that?
Excuse me, supposed to be the first, the second Thursday
Correct,
of March.
correct. And the Township Board at the last meeting approved financing as well as our schedule.
Very nice. Okay.
I think that's March 14th, John.
Thank you.
14. All right, 13, planner engineer reports.
You got ours.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Mr. Sharp said he had nothing for this evening, so
Oh, you put a report in there at the end, didn't he?
Yes, there's a report.
Very end. So no. Which, thinking out loud, would it be good to put this out as an FYI board at the 10th?
let me get you on that one.
Mr. Sharp's engineering report, it's in our packet tonight. The
Okay,
question was if we need to cover any of that at our March 10th open house
Because it has 8 projects that are in process.
in play.
Oh,
Just as an FYI, if we're gonna have public there, I think that would hurt, just to print it out, put it on.
Mr. Chair, if I might.
Sure.
We have a little extra room on the transportation board. If the planning commission would like to see that on the transportation board, that might be an option.
okay.
This on the transportation board?
I had separate one.
Excuse me?
I would put it on separate.
Yeah,
I
put it on separate.
separate board,
Did you get her attention?
transportation.
Do we wanna put that on a separate board?
Megan?
And we won't make you do it bigger.
You're talking about Jim Sharp's
Yeah.
Yes,
report with all the developments?
yes,
You
Just
want
like,
that?
just like an FYI for everybody.
yes.
I think,
Get your steps in.
I think, we add that to the examples of the two developments, so you had, Waterstone, Sanctuary Hills, and then you can put those other ones below it as examples of developments that are already approved and coming. So I think that gives, would that give a flavor to people, this is development that's already coming, and we expect more of it?
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, I would agree.
And that could be right near the start.
Yeah, okay, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, put these on approved.
Right.
What it says.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
Looks
Mr.
like
Chair, I'd
we've
like to
covered-
make a motion to adjourn at 8:35.
I'll second it.
we have a motion, we have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned.